So, tonight I am going to further torture myself with floppy disk installations, and I'm going to be starting with Windows 3.11. Now, an interesting fact about Windows 3.11, it ran on DOS, which means you got to install DOS before you can install the OS. So we're going to begin with PCem Configuration Manager, and we're going to create a new machine. And I'm going to call this Windows 3.11. Click on OK, and we should have it appear in this list eventually, if it decides to. There we go, so it's decided to. I'm blessed. So, let's talk about computer configurations of the time. I feel 486 is probably a little bit overpower for Windows 3.11 and DOS because it was 16-bit, and 486 was definitely a 32-bit machine. So I'm going to target something in the 386 range. Now, I was running around this time a 386SX processor, which basically meant it didn't come with a floating point calculator. That was the difference between SX and DX. So we're just looking at the various motherboard BIOSes to see if there's anything I actually remember. And the answer is no, not really. We do have an interesting Commodore SL, and we have an Epson PC. We have an IBM PS1 model, and we have an IBM PS2 model, and we have a Packard Bell Legend, which was growing popular at the time, and we have a PS2, so this was the DX PS270. So we'll go for something a bit more modern, I think, and we'll go for the Model 80, I think, and we'll see what processors are available. So 16. We'll go a bit easy on ourselves. We'll go for a nice DX25. So we got 12 megabytes of memory, and they say we have no FPU there, but we do have the ability to add one, which would be the 387 Math Core edition, but we're not going to enable that. So for displays. We have various models, but as you can see, we basically have a 1 megabyte SVGA adapter available to it. So I'm actually going to go back and see if there's anything more available on another machine. See if we got some more graphics cards. No, we're mostly looking at SVGA adapter. So IBM 1 meg seems to be the limit. I'm going to try a couple of other ones just to see. Let's try this Samsung one. And we'll see if that, oh yeah, so that does open up some more graphics card options. So this looks to be a more compatible BIOS. Let's have a look at what we've got here. We've got Cirrus Logic, which is a common one. We have CGA graphics, we have EGA graphics. We want something SVGA though, or VGA graphics would be nice. I remember using the Trident cards quite a lot, but I can't remember which model I particularly used. So S3 Verge is generally pretty safe. We got the Hercules. I remember the Hercules quite a lot. I don't think I ever owned one, but I do remember them in magazines and things. Of course, we've got the ATI range, which is was a very common company back then as well. So, what am I going to pick? Let's try going for one of the Trident. I think they are VGA compatible. I shall try going for one of the later versions, so we'll go for that one there. We'll check that processor again. So we're on the SX25, again 12 megs of memory, and we shall go for a Soundblaster 2.0. That was more or less around the era, if I remember correctly, and we'll have a new hard drive added. So we're going to have a primary hard drive. We only need 1.44 floppies here, so we'll just set it to that. Well, hello. Apparently I'm beautiful and wonderful. Thank you very much. We have CD-ROM, which we won't be using in this case. This will be done by floppy drive, so I'm just going to add a new hard drive. And we're just going to call this Windows 3.11 386SX, and I'm going to give it... we'll give it 512 megabytes of space, which was ample for the time. I'm going to make a quick note of these settings because I've been burned on BIOSes before. So we got 63 sectors, we have 16 heads, we have 1040 cylinders, and we're at a 512 MB size. So now I'll remember those details. We'll click on OK. How many floppies today? Do you need to add a G to this time? Yes, possibly not. Hopefully it will recognise the drive. As for the number of floppies, because we're using Windows 3.1, I believe there are 12 floppies for Windows 3.1. There's also an additional 3 floppies for installing DOS. So I will be starting off with DOS, then progressing to it. So Microsoft Mouse, that's fine. And we'll throw in some networking as well. So we'll go with the Novell NE2000. And we shall click on OK. So that is now our new configuration for Windows 3.1. So I'm going to bring up my my emulator now. So we click on the load button. And I will try to go into the BIOS. We got a beautiful coloured screen there. And now, was this F1 or was it delete? Beginning memory test. Press spacebar to determine memory test. Okay, that's fine. So we want F2 to... right, so apparently everything lost power. That's fine, that's expected. So I'm going to take this moment now to jump into this. And I'm going to quickly swap over my display. So we've got to wait for it to pick this up. And we'll click on OK. And then we'll get our general area sorted. It does take a moment to actually sort itself out. We'll click on apply and then we'll hide the display. I said hide, there we go. And we'll show this one. So now we should have a focus screen showing what I'm actually going to be dealing with. So let's hide this and let's begin the torture. Max asks, how am I? I'm good. I'm doing good, thank you very much. So we're in the Phoenix BIOS. Now I do remember the Phoenix BIOS. And we do seem to have the hard drive detected, but it's only detecting 40 megabytes in size. So I'm assuming that's not what we want. This is where I start to try and realise how much I've forgotten about all this stuff. So we've got a page up and a page down. Apparently you've got EMS there, so I'm not sure all that's about, because I always set that up manually with what's we call it. Value. Okay. Interesting. So, is there a way of editing this manually? Will it actually detect a hard drive of this size? Because it's not picking up the true size of the hard drive. I gave it 512 megabytes, and it's not detecting that at all. So it obviously doesn't like that very much. We'll see what's available on this one. So it's trying to auto detect, but it's not doing a very good job of it. So I don't think there's any way of directly editing. It's just type 42s. We just got various types. That's interesting. Well, what I could do is pick a hard drive, write down the details. So that's 112 megabytes. Let's see what the biggest option we have is. So 115 there. 116 on the type 27. 127 on the type 32. And okay, we're going around in circles. So it looks like the biggest I can have is 127. So I guess I'm going to write down those instead. So we've got 17 sectors, 1023 cylinders and 15 heads. Can't remember what LZ is actually. Wait, why are we in a Phoenix BIOS? Because this is a 386. And I can't remember the BIOS I was using at the time, to be honest. This was about the era that my father mostly dealt with this stuff, I must admit, because I would have been about 12 years old, maybe 13. So this is a bit of a discovery. As far as I'm concerned, we've got a VJ-EJ card, so that's good. I learned about this in the history of tech. Yes, that's basically what it's come down to. So I'm going to write down those settings I just came up with, and I'm going to recreate my hard drive using those settings, and hopefully we'll avoid all the mess that happened with OS2 Warp when I tried to make that run, because that's had some hard drive issues as well. We take for granted that you can basically just plug one in these days and it works. So 127. There are 227s, so does it make a difference which options? Wouldn't have thought so, but this is just the biggest drive it's willing to detect right now, so that's what I'm going to base this on. So I'm going to shut this down temporarily, and I will show you what I'm going to do in the desktop again. So if I bring up my doodahs, my what's-me-call-its, we will then go display capture. Didn't really do that. Let's turn it on and disable that. There we go. So you should now see my screen again. And we're going to go in and we're going to configure this again. And we're going to add in a different hard drive. Is it an MFM drive? It's really an emulated drive, so I get to control the settings that I'm creating. So I'm going to create a new one here. And as you can see, I can type in 1023. I can then type in 17 heads. And how many sectors? 15. And there we go. So we got the matching size they will actually support. And I will call this 127 MB 386 Samsung BIOS. And we're going to click on OK. Too many heads. Okay, so we're going to put 16 in there. That might throw things off somewhat. Hopefully there'll be an option for 16. And we'll see if that works. So it's going to be 119 then. Remix of the old and new, indeed. Right, drive created. Remember to petition. Yes, that's fine. We're going to click on OK. And we're going to start this up again. And again, remember, this is a 386 machine we're emulating, so we're really going into the depth of time right now. So we'll disable that one, we'll enable this one, and we just got to select the window. There we go. Give it a moment, it will come up. And we'll see if there's 119 meg version. But at least I know that it's got a maximum of 16 heads when I'm selecting these things. So let's pop back into this one. And we'll hit F2. Yes. It all got forgotten. So again, it's sort of defaulting to type 17. So we have to go through these type things by the look of it. So I did put in... Okay. So I messed up because I put in sectors for heads by the look of it. So I believe I was on a type this. So actual number of heads is 15. Okay, that's my bad. I didn't really write down what it was supposed to be. So 1023. This is going to be cylinder. We want 15 head. We want 17 sectors and a size of 127. And we'll try that once more. This won't take me too long, so I won't mess around too much with this. And there we go. So I'll close that one down again. And I will just quickly jump in and do exactly what I did before, and I'm going to type in the numbers properly this time. So I'm bringing up the configuration page. Actually, this is taking a moment. I can just do this. There we go. So we'll bring this back up again so you can see what I'm doing. And we're just going to go to hard drives. And we're just going to add another one. So again, 127 MB, 15H, 17 sectors, and 1023 cell. And then we'll type it in here. So sectors 17, heads 15, and cylinders that many. Good, that works. Okay. So now I know I have a hard drive that matches it. And that is now set up. Okay. And we'll play again. And we'll just move this over here. And we'll disable this. We'll click on this. We'll select the right window. And we'll click on OK. It's a shame that TikTok Live Studio keeps forgetting the window. It'll be nice if you just picked it up again, but that's life. There we go. So we're now back on. We're now cooking on gas. And so F2. Yep. We know. And I believe it was a type 40 something. I'm just going to look for size. There we go. So that's the number of drives we want. So hopefully it will now pick up our hard drive. And move my chat over here. And remember how to save this. Exit, continue setup, save values, exit and reboot. So that's what we want. And I'm now going to stick a floppy disk in the drive. And where is my... There we go. There's my MS-DOS. Right, strike F2. Nope, I don't want to. Just continue, please. Is it not giving me a choice to move on? Starting MS-DOS. There we go. So we are now using a 386 SX25. I've just set up the hard drive, and we are now trying to install DOS on it. This is DOS 6.22. Configure unallocated space, enter, and we'll see how well it did on that. Indeed, we are installing DOS, and then we will be installing Windows 3.11 on top of it. Yes, only 15, not the 93 discs I did last time. 93, yeah. I counted it afterwards. So hopefully this won't be a 3.5 hour doodah. Right, so now we are formatting drive C. And it is now progressing to drive C. So it's analysing our hard drive. Right, let's set our location. And you'd think that it would just set them both to it with 1, but nope. So these settings are correct. Yes, C DOS. Have you noticed how much easier that was than the OS2 Warp installation? That was not even remotely complicated. You just went, oh yeah, there's a hard drive. Done. So this may be one of the reasons that MS-DOS was a lot more popular than IBM OS2 Warp, though I haven't tried earlier versions of OS2 Warp. So it's entirely possible that the earlier versions were a bit easier to handle than the latest one. So we're now copying files over. Keep you up to date with the latest product improvements. Let you know about related Microsoft products. But that's only if you get to fill in your registration card. And it's just copying over the files now. So you can see a very similar setup to OS2 Warp, which we did last time. We have a very similar blue background. We have grey boxes. We have a progress bar. They've decided to make it yellow rather than white. There we go. So it looks visually quite similar, which again, as we discovered, they were doing code sharing at the time, so it's entirely possible they're using the same sort of code. So we're now inserting disk 2. I like that. If you're already using disk compression, if you're not already using disk compression, you can increase your disk space by using drive space at the command prompt as soon as you complete this setup program. So hands up, who wants to see drive space run? Because we only have a 127 megabyte hard drive. So this is probably the kind of drive where this kind of technology would turn out to be quite useful. We have memmaker. Memmaker allows us to auto-configure our RAM. Good, we've got one hand up there for running drive space. So we shall run drive space, the compression program. And we'll see if we can completely screw up our system that way. So we're now at 39%, so we're on the second floppy disk so far. Good, we have another thumbs up. So we'll see drive space. Now, drive space actually changed to double space in later versions, or was it the other way around? But anyway, drive space was either double space or drive space. The reason they changed it is because they had a copyright issue. It turned out someone else had a piece of software with the same name. And I can't remember if they changed it from double space to drive space, or from drive space to double space. I'm assuming, because this is 6.22, that this is the latest version, but they may have only updated it on the DOS 7 version that came with Windows 95. So I'm glad you enjoy watching progress bars. This is slow because I am emulating a 386SX 25 megahertz computer with a massive 12 megabytes of RAM. So this is the speed of the machine that I used to own. In fact, actually, I'm being generous. I am actually being generous because this is a bit faster than the one I owned. I believe I had about a 16 megahertz machine. So disk change A. Move that jumper to the 33 position. So we're now on our third disk. So this is the last and final disk for Microsoft. I had a 286 with an 8 megahertz, 16 megahertz with a turbo button. Exactly. I used to have something very similar. The first PC we owned was a 286. We never got into the original 8086. Way to just realise, do some PCs have more floppy disk slots? Yes, they do. It was very common to have 2 floppy drives in a single computer, so you could actually copy floppy disks. There was another method. There was a program you could not download, but you could obtain somehow, usually on shareware disks, that would actually copy part of the disk into memory and then copy it onto another disk, because there's only 1.44. If you had 12 meg of memory, then you could copy it into high space and then you copy it down. But more often than not, you would just put 2 floppy disks in both drives and you copy one directly to the other one. I did have a machine with 2 floppy disks, so that's how we would back it up. Yes, I remember time computers. Oh good, it confused me. It tells me you need to insert disk A, yes. There was a drive A and a drive B normally. But a lot of computers only came with a single floppy disk drive. I think because my father was an IT technician at the time, he found it quite useful to be able to duplicate disks. So we're now at 87%. And we are using a Trident graphics card this time round, so it should give us VGA colours. I've no idea if it'll actually support it, or I need to find drivers or anything. We're also using a Soundblaster 2.0 this time. We're not using a Soundblaster 16. So we're now at 97%. We are copying over mw_undel.help. If only 2 DVD slots could exist without custom modification. You can install 2 DVD drives. That wasn't a problem. It wouldn't be much use for anything, but yeah, you could have done that. It was just a matter of having a spare IDE port. So we now need to remove all our floppy disks. All of them. So we're now ejecting the disk, and we're going to press enter. And we're going to see if it boots from the hard drive. Because there was some BIOS shenanigans at the beginning of this. I'm hoping it actually reads from the drive properly. So strike F2 to run the setup utility. There we go, so we're starting MS-DOS now directly from the hard drive. We got the classic HiMem testing extended memory. This shouldn't have EMS enabled, but there we go. So we've loaded up Smart Drive, which was a caching program that allowed you to load from the hard drive faster. So we were going to do drive space. So drive space. And we're going to try compressing our drive. So welcome to drive space setup. Enter drive space now. Press enter. And we are going to do the express setup. And we're going to go continue. And we're going to press C for continue. And now drive space will do a quick test. And we will start compressing things down. Now what I should have done, which has just occurred to me now, is work out how much space there was in the first place. But hopefully it will tell us how much it's compressed. So there we go. We now have drive space going through all the surface scan just to make sure that the drive integrity is pretty good. So as a computer technician around this era, we did a lot of these interfaces. We would just literally sit there, grab a cup of tea, wait for the surface scan to complete. Now this is just a 127 megabyte drive, so you can see how amazingly fast they were. Lee has just asked, how's things? Things are going fine. We are now waiting for a surface scan to complete. So we can actually do some compression using drive space. Yeah, you often have a master-slave jumper and you can run on the same cable. Yes, you're absolutely right. There was a little jumper pin. No, not a jumper. Yeah, just a jumper. A jumper that sat on 2 pins, and you moved it either to the left or the right, depending on whether or you wanted it in master or slave mode. So you would have the hard drive in master mode, which was a little bit faster, and then you'd have the CD-ROM in slave mode, or you put 2 CD-ROMs on the same IDE cable. One would be master, one would be slave. Not exactly woke terms these days, but it's what we used to call it back in the old days. We went for description more than anything else. You know what would be cool? To make a PC with a Raspberry Pi motherboard and do these software tests on them. Yes, the only problem is, of course, a Raspberry Pi is an ARM processor. So you'd have to emulate... yeah, you'd have to run emulation on it, and I'm not sure what would actually run on a Raspberry Pi, to be honest, to emulate an x86. So I'd have to look into that. I'm not sure. I'm sure there is something. I know we got DOSBox and stuff, but yeah, this is a bit different from DOSBox because it emulates the actual hardware. Why are those drive cables? Why were those drive cables so unwieldy? It looks so bad. They were just thick ribbon cables. They're what we had at the time. We didn't have neat SATA cables. We just had big 40-pin connectors. So you can try and make those look tidy, but they won't ever. So, how many storage do you have left now? Like, you have a lot of VHD videos, ISO floppies, and more. Oh, on my main machine, I've got loads of space on this one. I've got 2 1TB drives, so yeah, I haven't taken up much with virtual machines at all. I think I'll probably sacrifice about 15 gig to various virtual machines. But, you know, these old machines don't take up much space. Though I'm not using VHD files, as I say, I'm using PCem. Having said that, I do have more space being taken up in Ubuntu and Arch, which I run under VirtualBox. Split the individual wires. Ugh, no, that's a good way of destroying your cable. Nope, they were joined in that way because they weren't supposed to be twisted. It was so easy to pull those pins out. DrvSpace is examining your system. DrvSpace will restart your computer. If your computer didn't even give me time to read the message. So we now have a Samsung Electronics Co. We have the option of striking the F2 key. So we're so violent in those days, it's not press it, it's strike it. Strike the F2 key. Which, of course, is an old typewriting term because you had to strike the keys to send that hammer hurtling forward. So we're now continuing with DrvSpace. So we've already verified it. And we are going to apparently take about 4 minutes to do software compression on our hard drive. So we'll be very interested. I call it Ubuntu because it's spelled Ubuntu. I know it's Ubuntu, but if they wanted it to be called Ubuntu, then they should have translated it into English, as far as I'm concerned. So people can correct me on Ubuntu as much as they like. I'm still going to call it Ubuntu just because it triggers them. I'm going to start calling Mint Linux Zint Linux or something. That'll annoy people as well. I think it's doing something. It says time left 4 minutes, but we're on 0%. So now it's creating the compressed drive. Now, if I remember correctly, what it actually did was create a big file on the drive. Yeah. So he just filled the drive up with one big compression file, if I remember correctly. I don't think it was a partition. I remember like a big file being created. And the DrvSpace driver loading, and then it just sort of loading that file up. So there we go. We're now compressing. It reckons about 19 minutes now. Now bear in mind, guys, the only thing I have installed on here is DOS, which takes up about... Well, we have 1.44 drives. We copy over the files, so we're talking about 4.5 meg. Oh, no, we're down to 13 minutes. Good. So as you can see, Microsoft very much started their career of lying about how long things would take back in the DOS days. Those restarts are faster than the fastest SSD. Oh yes, bringing back memories. You can see each individual file that we're compressing now. I remember using Xcopy and defrag. Do you think we should defrag the drive once we're done so we get that extra performance? Because if we just optimize space, it shouldn't take too long. These are the kinds of things we bought into back then. It would actually move files onto faster parts of the hard drive in order to speed up access times. And of course, DrvSpace could help as well, except it did have an overhead of processing because, of course, it's drive compression. But, you know, compression has been a Microsoft mainstay for a long time. As you can see, it's gone all the way back to 1993 when they were doing drive compression. So it reckons about 5 minutes now. So I recommend. I like the way it gives you an estimated finish time, just so you can put it in your calendar as to when it might be back. This brings back memories. Doesn't apply to me. It brings back memories for Liam, and it brings back memories for me. I did a lot of this. I just remembered MS Backup. I just saw it flash up there. I don't know what Power does. Or QBasic. I wonder if they have the Gorilla game on there. They should do. I don't know if Gorilla.bas came with DOS, But that was a game that basically came with QBasic. I haven't even gotten to the Windows 3.1 installation yet. I'm literally just playing around with DOS. But, to be fair, if I'm going to follow the pattern I would have back in the day, then drvspace would have been one of the things I used. Memmaker would have been something I used as well to increase the amount of base memory I had access to. And defrag would have been something I ran just to make sure that my hard drive was running as fast as possible. What version hardware are you installing? This seems like the very first one. This isn't the first one. This is actually a fairly late BIOS in the series. This is a Samsung. It's based on Phoenix BIOS. I'm using the i386 SX25, so we're not using that. Do I remember the Michelangelo virus? I don't, I'm afraid. I never really paid much attention to viruses and things until they affected my system. Oh, that's a command I forgot. Undelete. You could delete a program and you could use the undelete to restore it if you were lucky. And because, of course, there wasn't a lot of background writing, it was relatively okay to run undelete and get everything back again. drvspace is preparing to start the defragmentation program to optimize your new compressed drive. You know what? I think I just remembered why I had to run defrag after I ran drvspace, and that's because it makes you. I didn't remember that part. I just remembered running defrag after doing drvspace. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure drvspace was the second one. Doublespace was the original name for this. So if you go back to an earlier version of DOS, I think DOS 6, I believe they called it doublespace back then. There we go. So now we're into the other staple of my early computer career, running defragment, which was basically moving all the files so everything was nice and easily lined up so you could actually align everything properly. Because it would just end up saving files anywhere. Yep. Now that screen was a lot faster than I remember it being, I have to admit, but I'm dealing with quite a small hard drive. So I think I must have had I had a Bigfoot drive at one point that I was defragging, and it may have been Windows, and it would take hours. It would take hours. drvspace is resizing the compressed volume file after defragmenting. That's exciting. I remember this. Used the CMD prompt and got Windows to delete itself before my very eyes. A mistake. Very easy to do with Windows 3.11, which we will be momentarily installing. Hi there. Appreciate all you are doing. I'm glad you enjoy my broadcasts. So this is drvspace now running. Compressed volume file after defragmenting. There's not really giving like any feedback or anything. This probably isn't the moment you want to reset the computer because you could actually corrupt everything. There we go. drvspace is examining your system. So it's got a little magnifying glass and it's going after all the little chips in there. But this isn't as actually slow as I thought it would be on the 386, I have to admit. There we go. So free space after compression is 239.6 meg. Now bear in mind that this is a 127 megabyte drive. So this has massively increased the amount of available space. Yes, I remember using Norton Commander as well. I should probably grab that. What even is drvspace? Like straight up use the hard drive. So drvspace is exactly what Windows drive compression is. It was simply a way of using processing power to shrink down files as much as possible in order to save as much space on the hard drive as possible. So you see we've got a compression ratio there. It's basically a big zip file in many ways. It's just turned the drive into a big zip file. So drvspace has created a new drive H that contains 2.0 megabytes of uncompressed space. This space has been set aside for files that must remain uncompressed. Is it possible to extend the partition limit of MS-DOS for upgrade video? I'm not sure what you're asking there. I'm not sure what you mean by upgrade video. But if you're talking about resizing a partition, fdisk would have done that, though you would have had to destroy the old disk to do it. Now, if I remember, there were some utilities that allowed you to do this, but DOS didn't allow you to do it originally. Now, when you say upgrade the video, do you mean increase the amount of space available to the video card? In which case, no. Upgrade from 1.0 to 11. Sorry, not. Are you talking about upgrading Windows from 1.0 all the way to 11? That would be interesting. Not sure it's possible. Right, we're going to press enter now. We're now preparing final drvspace.ini file. Drvspace will now restart your computer. Now you notice that they didn't hang around. They didn't let you read the message. It's just, we're going to restart the computer. You're too slow at reading. Go away. Now, if I remember correctly, drvspace would load a driver, and that would actually take up some memory. So it's going to be interesting to see how much memory this is taking up. And remember, the memory it would have taken would be base memory. I remember there was a system that used VHS to store files as backups. Yes, there was. I never owned one, but I have heard of one. Oh, no, there doesn't seem to be a drvspace thing there. Okay. I'm just going to have a quick look at autoexec, see if drvspace is there at all. No, that's fine. I'm going to try having a look at config.sys. And there we go. So that's where drvspace loads. That's the driver that allows us to actually read the file system now. So that would have taken some memory. So let's have a look at mem. So we're now down. We are now down to 528 kilobytes of base memory. Now, for a lot of games, that was a killer. That would cause you so many problems, especially for games like Elite Frontier, which would require 620 base memory. So this is where we use memmaker to try and recover some of that. And then once memmaker has been accomplished, continue, yeah. Once memmaker has been accomplished, we'll use express. Do you use any programs that need EMS? No, I don't right now. So we use memmaker to see how much base memory we can recover after drvspace. Definitely possible to get 2 gig limit storage by MS-DOS. Yes, you could. FAT16 would support up to 4 gigabytes, if I remember correctly. Not that this BIOS does. This BIOS was limited to 127 megabytes. But again, I'm using a 386. So it'd be interesting to see how much memory I can get now. And then I should begin the installation of Windows 3.11 for workgroups. Okay, so it's put a sizer.exe in there. It's doing some calculations, is it? Okay. Please wait. Memmaker determining. He's not even giving you a chance to actually read things. Optimum memory. It will now restart again. Okay. At least it allowed me to hit return to actually acknowledge that it was trying to restart. So we're on 2 meg of RAM, by the way. I see that you use 600k memory. Imagine your younger self on a T2 mem test. I spent so much time trying to optimize base memory. It was ridiculous. I think that was my main game at the time. So it's loading high smart drive. Let's see if it tells us how much memory we just saved. Yes, it appears to be working properly. And right, so memmaker has brought us up to 622 again. So that's good. That's where we want to be. So we're going to do a mem again. We are now at 608k of available base memory. Not quite enough to run something like Elite Frontier, but it's a big improvement over the 528k that we had just now. If I just went delete C plus star.star, I would end up getting rid of these main configuration files. And that wouldn't actually be the worst thing in the world, because I'll just put the floppy disk back on and copy them back over. I have done that before. Right, so let's try Windows now. So let's get our first Windows disk. Win311, disk 0, and we'll go to A, dir, and now, interestingly, if you look at this disk, you'll notice that some of the extensions have an underscore, and these are actually compressed versions of those files. So they actually did do quite a lot to try and maximize the amount of space available, or maximize the amount of files you can actually store on there. So we're going to type in setup. It's all right, mate. You made an interesting point. Delete C++. Delete C star.star. It would be very entertaining. So we're just going to now notice how much easier and more streamlined this is than the OS2 Warp live we were doing. The amount of time I spent just in the initial configuration, whereas this is largely just going to be a series of click nexts. And that was one thing that Microsoft did quite well, was just making software easy to install, easy to load. Now, it wouldn't necessarily be stable while you're running the OS, but at least you could install it on the computer. It's crazy that this software and Windows XP use this as an app. What app? So now we are back in the wonderful world of waiting for files to copy. Yay! Command prompt, yeah. Oh, we're at 10% now. Yeah, I mean, the DOS prompt is the entire OS, and it really, Windows 3.11 was something that ran on top of DOS. And the same was true for Windows 95 as well. It was Windows 98 that started to change that, where DOS was kind of baked into it, but not really something it ran on top of as such. No problem, Luna. Luna is one of my most active followers. What one might even say, he's a stalker. I appreciate you coming by, man. Yes. How many floppies was Windows 3.11? 12. But I don't think you needed all of them to install something. I think a lot of them were extra drives and things. He's admitted to being my stalker. Someone phone the police. And excuse me while my there we go. How many floppies for Windows 10? Well, what is my Windows 11 installation size? I think it's like 32 gig. So yeah, 32 gig divided by 1.44. That's math I'm not even going to attempt in my head. We are now on disk 2. So it looks like it's going to copy over the first 3 disks, and then it may go into a GUI installation screen. A box full of floppies. I would say a vault full of floppy disks. And the answer is indeed too many. Yes. Thank you for the likes, guys. I appreciate it. Feel free to share the lives, guys. See if we can get some more people up there. I would pull up the auto clicker, but it melts my phone. I wouldn't worry, mate. Oh, did it only copy 2 disks? It's interesting. Please wait while Windows for Workgroups 3.11 starts. This may take a few minutes. If Windows for Workgroups 3.1 does not start, see troubleshooting in your document. Oh, there we go. Hey, we have graphics. It's sad that not many people hear about you. You always explain things logically. I appreciate that, mate. Me on the Xbox 360. Oh wow, 2 discs. You now 32. I learned a lot from the day I met this account. I appreciate that, man. Thanks. CK Enthusiast. Company Foreman. Technology, which is actually my company. Product number. None. And we shall continue. So now we are into the graphical GUI, which I have to admit does look prettier than OS2 Warp. Don't get me wrong, OS2 Warp was fine, but this is much simpler and much more easy to understand. One of the things that made me think that OS2 Warp was kind of an uncongealed, unmarried mess of technologies was the fact that through the installation process we had like 4 different ways of displaying how to copy files. I just watched that satisfying print vid, a beautiful execution. What print video would that be? Oh, is that the one where I was putting off lumps of not Lego? Not even Lego compatible, just Lego-like. Lego adjacent. Schedulerplus.exe. Release the purple not bricks. I actually made a Minecraft sword out of it. Not a real Minecraft sword, but a Minecraft adjacent sword. Technically, the original Lego block is now out of copyright. So, I'm not sure. It's obviously trademark is still a thing. No, patent, that's right. I think it's out of patent. So you can actually, I think, I'd have to consult a lawyer on this. You can actually 3D print Lego bricks legally. But again, consult your lawyer. I am not a lawyer. Do not trust what I say. But that is my very vague understanding. We're on disc 3 now. I would use the House 3D printer to make huge Lego blocks. Why not? I do. I'm actually thinking of making a similar block technology, not using the same methods as Lego. Because I have to admit, the biggest problem with those things was because of the way 3D prints lay down layers. I did find the top knob things were breaking off. I have access to a large format printer at work, but I don't think they'd appreciate giant bricks. just tell them you're building a house. Would it run too fast if you emulated like a Pentium 1? You know what? For another live, I shall up the hardware to a Pentium 1 and we'll see how much quicker this would have been. Or tell that actually it's a great business idea. Yeah, exactly. Tell them it's affordable housing. Just don't tell them how long it'll take you to print out all the bricks for a house. Carbon neutral manufacturing. What's going on here? I am installing Windows 3.11. You have just missed me playing around with DOS. So I installed DOS 6.22. Then I ran drvspace. Drvspace then proceeded to defrag. And once the hard drive was defragged, I then did a memory test and discovered my base memory had dropped down to 528K. I then ran memmaker and managed to bring it up to 608 base K. Then I started the Windows 3.1 installation, and that is basically as far as I've gotten so far. So I believe I'm on disk 3 of 12. Which is a much more pleasant thing to say than disk 3 of 93, which I was doing yesterday. And that was because I was installing OS2 Warp. 500k, blimey, that's still a lot of time. Oh no, 528k for base memory was dreadful. So many games wouldn't have run in that. Yeah, you had to have at least 560 before anything really became playable in DOS. How would Windows Vista react to 64 gigs of RAM? It wouldn't care. It would happily take 64 gigs, I think. Though there were two versions of Vista, actually. There was the 32-bit version of Vista, and there was a 64-bit version of Vista. If you installed the 32-bit version of Vista, then you would have been limited to 4 gigabytes of RAM. I don't know why this filter doesn't like this white shirt. I'm literally leaned against something quite dark, so it's not doing a very good job filtering me. Imagine installing a run of Vista on NVRAM. Do I have to? Now, I had a trick to make my operating systems incredibly fast back in the day, and that was by using a technology called RAM drive, where if you had lots and lots and lots of memory, you could actually install your entire operating system into system RAM. The only problem was every time you turned off your computer, your entire operating system disappeared. But I did have some fun really impressing my mates with the boot up speed of my operating system by actually installing it into VRAM, or RAM disk I should say, and tricking them into thinking my hard drive is just that fast. copying the Windows Mail system component. I like the way it actually gives you an explanation of what the files are. My Windows 11 install has been active for 365 days according to Windows. Nice. This is Windows 3.11 version. Yes, indeedio it is. Can you get non-volatile RAM on a normal PC though? No, it's not designed for it. Moments of silence, where we remember the fallen technicians who took their own lives just trying to install things from floppy drives. So we have copying 386 enhanced mode files. So that's the IFS manager. We have mail drivers, imp.exp.dll. DLL, by the way, if anyone doesn't know, stands for Dynamic Link Library. So why are you playing around with old OSs and hardware? I have a very simple question for you. Why not? I got nothing better to do. Hello Darkness, my old friend, indeed. I was using it on an MS-DOS with Norton Commander. I'll have to grab a copy of Norton Commander. Imagine an old technician seeing Windows installs on SSDs. Oh yes, yes. If you had put a modern computer from today in front of a young Daniel, his eyes would have been so wide he wouldn't have believed it. It would have had graphics better than most movies of the time. You imagine installing something like Mass Effect. I'm thinking of something that had really good story and playthrough. Could you imagine the absolute amazement of seeing Mass Effect back in the 90s? Yes, there are 12 floppy disks to install. Yeah. I vaguely remember playing Think Tank on a PC when I was 6. I think the PC technics got lazier over time. I'm not sure if I'll find a PC tech working as the old one. We did get lazy over time. I bet our whole generation got lazy because we got these little black slabs of glass where you just poked pictures. Technology in many ways became far too sophisticated and took away the discovery of the hardware. 1 second install. Why was installing old versions of Windows so satisfying? You can't beat that experience. I agree. Just, you had to sit there and take your time. This was how I spent a lot of my childhood, was just installing software from floppy disks. I sit here and control my friend's PC. I'm the ultimate admin. Nice. Just wait till the pictures turn 3D. Guys will be poking in a whole new way. 3D technology, it's got a way to go, yep. Well, to be fair, actually, 3D technology is quite advanced now, because I do actually have an Oculus Quest 2 somewhere. The only problem is, I barely use the thing. I don't know why. I have it. I got some nice games for it, but it just seems so much of a fuss to just strap something to my head and dance around the living room like a moron. When it first came out, I loved it. I thought it was the best thing ever, but I've kind of gotten too used to it now, I have to admit. I should probably dust it off, though. Wow, never seen this screen for a long time. Oh, you missed all the classic stuff, Cosme. I had installed DOS 6.22. Then I ran through a scan disk where it did a surface scan. I did a drive space compression of the drive, which then led to a defragmentation of that drive. I then ran memmaker to restore the amount of base memory I had, and then we installed Windows 3.11. And if you want to relive all of these experiences, I will be uploading this video to my YouTube channel, which will be at ckenthusiast, so just youtube.com at ckenthusiast. So after this live has been done, it takes me about half an hour to get the video up there. And if you want to really, really, really see me torture myself pointlessly, I installed IBM OS2 Warp 4 from floppy drive on a 4x6 machine. It took me 3.5 hours. I love the welcome message things and do things. I don't know how to change it. I set it and I can't see where to actually change it again. And I'm too lazy to bother troubleshooting it. I figure most people will work out what I'm actually doing. Oh, it really was a torture last night. I don't know why I did it. And the stupid thing is, it wasn't even the first time I did it. I have spent over 7 hours, over 2 lives, trying to install IBM OS2 Warp. The first one completely failed because the BIOS did not automatically detect the hard drive, but the software was finding the hard drive, but because the BIOS didn't have the hard drive set, it wasn't actually calling the boot sector. So he went through like 50 different permutations of trying to get this blooming thing booting, and it turned out it's because I'd forgotten that you had to go into the BIOS and do a manual IDE check to get it registered in the CMOS, and then you could boot into it. Well, I worked it out the second time round. It went a lot better. Okay, man. Have a good sleep, and thanks for popping by. I might take it out to play with it a bit. Yeah, it's good fun. Yes, 7 hours I wasted on OS2 Warp. And the great thing is, after I finally installed OS2 Warp, it wouldn't automatically shut down. And when I rebooted it, it immediately detected corrupted files. So I then shut it down and I made a copy of that hard drive on the basis that it was already self-destructing itself. So now I can restore it without having to actually go through 2.5 hours worth of installation again. But that was, it's just like, check disk, files corrupted. My BIOS was so locked it has a password. I'll just take the battery out. I just mad at Amazon for locking their tablet bootloaders. I know, I have to admit, I would love to grab the Fire tablets. I love them, but I would much rather stick something else on it, like a cyanogen mod or something along those lines. But remember, they're very subsidized devices, and basically they're trying to sell you into the Amazon ecosystem, so that's why they lock the bootloaders. But honestly, I think it should be a crime for you not to be able to change the software on your own hardware. Maybe the EU will get around to doing it. They do. I mean, they sell it at a loss because they want you to go on to Amazon Prime Video, sign up for that, order products from their tablet, use their smart assistant. They just want you as part of the ecosystem, which is fair enough. Those were with 95 version on floppy. Oh, I remember I had a Windows 98 CD, and one of my friends knocks at the door with a big box of floppies. What did he want you to do? Compress and copy it all over? I haven't used Windows 3.11 since 96. I'm feeling nostalgic. I don't blame you, mate. I'm feeling nostalgic as well. He wanted to copy Windows files on floppy disks. Fair enough. I mean, the thing is, back with Windows 95, because of the way it was installed, it was actually theoretically possible to just compress the entire Windows folder into a zip file and then split those zip files into many 1.4 meg files and actually manually copy them over. And I suppose it would be no worse than going through the installation process. You just copy over all those part files and then do a uncompress of of the zip files. Yeah, I mean, you could actually do that. 800 megabytes. That would have been a lot of floppies, I have to admit. Probably would have been easier for him to grab a couple of CDRs, though I'm not sure how popular CDRs were at the time. I think they were just coming into vogue with 98, but it may have been around the early 2000s that they really became popular. Do you pay for... I don't know a single person who's ever paid for WinRAR. I don't know one. I'm also used Intel NUCs. Sorry? I'm also used to Intel NUCs that went to help my friend with hardware. I got confused. What's an Intel NUC? I know NUC is a reader, but I think you probably mean something else. But no, I don't know a single person who ever paid for WinRAR. And WinZip was the other one that hardly anyone ever paid for. It was always just reinstall it. Right. Oh, there's no printer attached. There we go. Silence. Right, Windows network settings. Setup will install support for the following networks on your computer. Microsoft Network 3.11. You can share your files and printers. Let's click on networks and see what happens. Install Windows for network. You have options for sharing your printer. You can use files and printers on your NAT. You can also install Windows support for additional network. Other supports Novell and stuff. No TCP/IP, obviously. I think this predated that. Let's go for unlisted or updated network. Install Windows from the following network only. I do have a network network card in it, which is the Novell, I think, Novell 2000. Right, I'm not going to mess around with this. I don't remember anything about Windows networking on 3.11, I have to admit. So I'm just going to continue. There we go. Please confirm the following setting interrupt 3. Well, I assume so. So NE 2000 compatible is detected my card. Interrupt 3 associated with COM2, although COM2 is not currently using interrupt 3. You may experience conflicts. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. Just carry on. Do you want to select a different settings? No, I don't. That's fine. And okay. By the way, are you still able to get dial-up connection just for fun? I don't know, actually. There must be some dial-up ISP around somewhere. Or maybe there's even an emulator for it. Disk 7. We need disk 7. And okay. I'm currently looking up any 2000 packet driver. I think you can download them. Using an NE2 network card in DOS, any 2000 clones can use the same packet driver, but the plug and play setup doesn't work. Okay. There we go. Any ISA network card, how to load driver. Packet driver seems to have unloaded. I'll see at some point if I can get this online. Oh, there you go. So you either go for IPX or TCP network. And the IPX protocol has been used for DOS games, but most of them in the era Pentium class still use the TCP protocol. Okay. Sorry, invited you. First Windows I installed was Windows 98. I was actually on the Windows 98 support team. That was my first job down in Sidcup. They were massively launching the product, and they were desperate for anyone who even had a little bit of DOS knowledge. And they just wanted people on their call stations. So my first job was literally troubleshooting Windows 98. On an AMD Duron, in case you had a Duron. Oh, wow, that was advanced. My first computer that I personally owned was a Cyrix P150 Plus. Now, before that, we had family computers. That was a 486, 386, 286. But the first one I personally owned and built myself was an IBM Cyrix 150 Plus. And I remember spending many hours going through Micromart trying to find parts for my first computer build, which my father did help me with. I think it's a birthday present, actually. The only CPU I've ever had was an AMD A10 something or other. A10's pretty bad these days. AMD were going through a pretty poor point when the A series were coming out, I have to admit. The pile driver series GPUs, or CPUs, sorry. But who would have thought that when pile driver was coming out, that just a few short years later, AMD would absolutely be dominating with Ryzen? Excuse me. Copying Windows Network version 3.11. Exciting. The only CPU... Yeah, I've read that one, sorry. If you have CenturyLink, you can still do the dial-up on it. Cool. No idea what CenturyLink is. It was interesting to place the HDD and floppy on the same IDE if you didn't know the jumper settings. I don't think the floppy disk actually went on the same IDE, did it? I remember it being shorter. I think he had his own, didn't it? It actually had a floppy drive port. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. CenturyLink is the phone company. Okay. He had his own. Okay. Oh, we're actually seeing the operating system populating in front of us. Now, this has to be a blast from the past for a lot of people. Some models were using IDE. Okay, just the machines I had that didn't then. Needs no application. Yeah, MS-DOS editor. That's fine. So it's going through and finding all the DOS programs. Oh, excuse me. Oh yeah, you're definitely too young to remember any of this. Let's skip the tutorial. I think I vaguely remember how to use this. Yeah, let's restart the computer. Beep, bleep, beep. Okay, it shouldn't be doing that. So let's see if I can do a hard reset. There we go. Press spacebar to terminate the memory test. CD drive and HDD worked on the same ID. Yes, they did. Yes, they definitely did. You create your own windows. Nice. Okay. Oh, it's because I've got a floppy drive in there. Floppy drive. I keep saying floppy drive. I mean floppy disk. There we go. So no, I haven't messed up the boot drive. The only thing that's hard is the group. So we're loading a net driver there. I'm going to run memmaker again. What's the memory usage? Yep, that's dropped down. So memmaker. Let's get some of our memory back. Then I think I'll run a quick defrag. I created my own windows that you can use all the old windows. Okay. SATA cables are so weird to me and temperamental. I've never had any issues with SATA cables. So this has been a nice relaxed installing comparison. It's merely taken me 1 hour and 20 minutes to get fully up and running with Windows 3.11. Rather than the 3.5 hours it took me for OS2 Warp. Yay. What's a school nooks? I have no idea what you're saying there. My colleagues at school had 486 machines with 1.5 gigs of memory, and I had 20 gigabytes. Nice. On what setting? Windows I created on its own activator. Could use old machines to run modern Linux. Could these old machines run modern Linux? I don't know, actually. I'll have to find out. Depends how modern the Linux is, I suppose. Puppy Linux might run. Now, this machine would definitely not run any modern operating systems, simply because it's only got 127 megabytes of drive space. Yes, it does appear to be working properly. That's fine. Let's have a look at mem now. Yeah, we're back to 605k of memory now. Now, one of the ways of speeding up loading Windows was to go edit autoexec.bat and then actually put Windows into the execution. I think you could just call win from anywhere. We'll find out. File, save. File exit and do a quick reboot. Beep, bleep, beep. My back cracked so loud. Doesn't seem to like the Control-Alt-Delete, so let's do a hard reset. There we go. A hard reset. Let's see if he boots into Windows directly. I might actually have to say which directory to call Windows from. Have you seen the new APU, Analog Processing Unit, made by Mythic? No, I haven't. Yep, off and on again fixes most things. There we go. So it now boots into Windows automatically. See how long it takes to actually boot up. This would be a 4x3 native aspect. Yes, indeedio, it would be. Jonah has just joined to see the loading of Windows 3.11. It does seem to be taking a bit of time. But it is also a 386 machine. I think I'll give it a moment. Oh, this would be 640 by 480, or it'd be 800 by 600. Oh, it's taking its sweet time, isn't it? I wonder if this is crashed. Yeah. I'm going to give it till 2027. Sorry, 2227. But I hope everyone's getting a nostalgic kick from seeing this load up screen. I may have successfully broken Windows without even trying. Black Dog. Why are you saying OMG? If AI ran for power, would you vote for it? No, I wouldn't. Windows is breakable. Okay. It's almost 2227. Via rocks or hard items. Windows is breakable and hackable. Yes, it is. Am I getting old? I remember editing config.sys and autoexec to make it run. You're about as old as I am then. That was my entire gaming career as a teenager. 3x6 and Windows 3.1. That means you start the PC and go eat. It shouldn't be taking this long to load up. I'm going to do a reboot. It would be nice if this software actually had some kind of hard disk light. Because to be honest, that is how I worked out if a machine had frozen or not, was whether or not the hard drive activity LED was actually flashing or not. Are you still booting on return? I just put it into config. So... But this may be a record. I may have gone from installing Windows to breaking it in less than 2 moves. Because this is using PCem rather than a physical PC, there is no LED light. Okay, this one gets 2 minutes, and I call it. I may have to go into safe start. Didn't like that. Now, the tactical error I made here was not testing if Windows loaded before I actually put it in the autoexec top hat. I'm going to have to see now if a Control C or a Control Z or a Control Q will interrupt the autoexec. I'm going to give it 1 more minute. Actually, while I'm doing that, I can look up something. I'm trying to remember how you brought up safe mode in Windows 3.11. Yeah, I'm going to reset this again. Yes, I wish to terminate batch job. There we go. So you can do a Control-C to interrupt an autoexec. I thought you could. That's right. Let's edit autoexec.bat. And let's remove win from here. And cd windows. And win/?. There we go. Creates a boot luck. Causes Windows not to load network drivers. Using combination one or more switches. Turns off 32-bit file access. Specifies a Windows. Yeah, so we didn't have a safe mode as such. But if I try disabling the network drivers, we'll see if that makes a difference. Because there was that interrupt that was interfering with COM2. So it's possible that was causing an issue. There we go. I think it was the network drivers that were causing it problems. So you have just seen me use ancient DOS knowledge to troubleshoot Windows. Hello, Jacob. Do you recognize which version of Windows I'm using? And will someone please get Jacob some salami? He seems to be craving it. Thank you for the roses, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it was a COM port. So what I can do, if I go into the BIOS, I might be able to... there we go. If I go into the BIOS, I might be able to disable that COM port, and maybe I can load up networking then. So number 2. No, he doesn't recognize it. He does not recognize Windows 3.11. How terrible is that for a techie? So right now, Jacob, we are running on a 386SX computer with a massive 12 megabytes of RAM and a huge 127 megabyte hard drive. Why didn't it go into the setup utility? I did ask it to. Let's do a Control-Alt-Delete again. Actually, the graphics here does have a lot of power. It's got 2 megabytes of RAM. I'm now spamming the key. There we go. In fact, you can see all the specs there. Processor type 386, reserved memory 384 kilobytes of RAM. Right, I was seeing if there's COM here, and if I can actually so I'm trying to get into the second screen, but it's not letting me. It's not recognizing my page up and page down on this keyboard. Oh, there we go. Right, so there's nothing here that actually allows me to disable the COM, which is unfortunate. Yeah, there's no COM settings here. Okay, nothing I can do there. I was thinking if I disable COM, maybe that would save my network issues. Indeed, nostalgia. In Quem, you can run these entirely, run at max speed. Yeah, but I prefer emulating the hardware speed. It's more fun to remember how long it took to do anything. And you've got to admit, it's pretty usable, given that this is a system that is running at 25 megahertz. And it has nothing like the clocks per the instructions per clock cycle the modern machines do. Right, I'm going to try running Windows from the command prompt in its own directory with the network drivers installed, but I suspect it's going to sit on this screen for a minute or so, in which case I will have to come back and disable the drivers. Because you'll notice that when I disabled that, it actually booted up pretty quickly. But no, it's just, yeah, I can tell right now it's just fixed on this screen. So I'm just going to do another hard reset, and we're going to run it without the network drivers. I was hoping to get something like Netscape installed, and maybe do some very terrible internet experience using Netscape Navigator Gold or something. But it looks like the networking is causing problems on this emulator, because I'm using an NE 2000 compatible card. I mean, it is starting Windows Net, and it is completing the command, so it's possible it might still have access. Windows win/n. And hopefully it will load up now. I need to find, strike F2. We didn't just press things in those days. We damn well struck that button. Now, if you're wondering why you say strike instead of press F2, it's because this wasn't long after the old typewriter. So, of course, you had to strike a typewriter key in order to get the little hammer to slam onto that ribbon and actually make a mark. So it's very much you didn't type on a typewriter, you struck a typewriter key to slam that hammer home. Windows 3.11 with Netscape was my first internet experience in 1996. Yep, similar here. They didn't know the press the word back in those days. Biomenace.exe, Duke.exe, all you needed to know in those days. That and memmaker to get enough memory to actually run those games. This was my first OS. The first thing I would always do with Windows 3.1 is maximize the window, because the desktop was largely useless. Then I would always... actually, does right-click work? Should do. I remember right-click working, but apparently not. I didn't actually mean to double-click on that. Okay. For more information, or look at that speed. Look at the speed of loading a document. Wow. Thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. Yeah. Text. Text is so much to handle on this device. Thank you for the follow. Yep, there we go. So just reading a text file was right. What other programs do we have here? What other classics do we have? Let's go into accessories. Yeah, we got to go into Paintbrush. Let's have a play with Paintbrush. Let's make some really awesome art. And I've just made a very true to life image of Jacob Rostek. I think that pretty much looks like him. Now we had an amazing fill speed, if I remember correct. You can actually see it filling the screen. Oh, it won't let me actually paint things. There we go. Oh, I used to spend ages with the spray can. There we go. Just making beautiful colours all over it. You drew some olives. Nice. See, now he's got some stubble. Yeah, I mean, the fact that you can actually do things like cut a section and then move it. You know, this was advanced stuff back then. Though the paint program I used in this era was something called Neopaint. I think that's actually a DOS program. Let's sell this PC for $1 million. See, I mean, you can actually get some pretty complicated lines and things. Because there's actually spline stuff going on there. Yeah, this was actually quite a sophisticated little program in many ways. I used to make those pixelated Super Mario pictures using Paint. Who remembers the bitmap file format? We didn't mess around with JPEG back then. Everything was in raw bitmap. Oh, PCX files. I forgot about PCX files. I used to use PCX quite a lot. So I have now just made hello.pcx. New UNFT made indeed. Image attributes. You could size things in pelts and centimeters and inches. Black and white and colours. Edit colours. So you can actually manually change all the colour values. Now, of course, this is not in pure VGA mode, so we don't have 250. Is this 256 colours? I'm not sure. Is this in EGA mode? I think it's in EGA mode because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we've got the standard colours there, and everything else is a pattern. So the dithering is a way that we changed colours back then. Alright, we'll close this down. What else do we have? We had a character map where you could actually see all the amazing fonts. We still got this program in modern Windows, actually. So you can actually find individual characters and insert them. We have Object Packager, which, if I remember correctly, was a compression program of types. Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend that I remember how to use this. Recorder. File, new. Macro record. Yep, so this is what you use to automate tasks. You could record clicks and drags, mouse events, and actually get it to repeat things. So that was built into Windows 3.1. And macros were quite popular. And it's quite funny because these days you actually do have to install the third-party software. I think Windows does have the feature, but it's not as easy to use as it was back then. Of course, we got Sound Recorder. No sound driver installed yet because I haven't installed Soundblaster 2 drivers. We got Write, which was a text editor. Quite a little, yeah, I mean, it's free and it did documents reasonably well. You could do things like center a paragraph. You could justify it. You could use double spacing. It had header, footers, rulers. It was basic, but it did the job. No way of inserting images, I remember. Oh yeah, you could insert objects. Paintbrush picture. Do a little squiggle. And update. And then you had your amazing paintbrush picture directly in your document. Yeah, for the time it was good. My dad got us this for schoolwork. I never used it for schoolwork. Sounds about right. No, I don't want to save. Of course, we spent many hours at work looking at the clock. Is it time yet? Can we go home yet? And we had this nice analog version as well. We have the famous calculator, which again is still in Windows today. I think it has it had a scientific method, a scientific view. So you had your entire calculation and all your sums you could run. Spent hours in calculator, mostly typing B and boob. Terminal was a way of communicating with other computers. So you could get remote access and you could send commands and stuff. Very insecure these days. Card file for your business contacts. So that was your first card. Then you add your second one. Add a new second card. Cat person B. And you can actually just literally go through them. They just stacked on top of each other. You know what? This program would actually be quite useful today. I could probably do with listing my contacts and some information and stuff. Oh, you can put a picture in there. So yeah, card file was quite useful. So those are the basic utilities. What else do we have? Control panel, where you spent most of your troubleshooting. So this is where control panel started. Then it kind of got phased out. Ooh, enhanced. This is where we can adjust scheduling and stuff, which actually gives priority to background apps. You could have it exclusive in foreground, which meant it gave all the timing to foreground apps. You had virtual memory, which is a big thing back then. The ability to basically write out memory to the hard drive. Still a technology that's used today. And yeah, let's change it. So right now the swap file has no size. Use 32-bit disk access. Nah, it doesn't matter. So I can give myself a whole extra megabyte of memory. There we go. So a just over 1 megabyte permanent memory file was done. So you had to restart Windows after doing that. But if you kept running out of memory, then that was one of the ways you solved it. I was 7, the youngest who spent time on it clicking around, now in cybersec. Thanks, Dad. Yes, I probably can. We'll see. Oh yeah, Windows isn't booting in end mode now, is it? It's just going to sit there. I forgot about that. I will probably do an internet experience at another date. It will take a little bit of setup. I'll have to download some extra stuff. So go into Windows. Well, actually, I should just run win-n. And of course, as you say, Internet Explorer 4.0. I don't think did Internet Explorer work on Windows 3.11? I'm pretty sure it was Windows 95 that came in on, but I might be wrong. Let's see what I got in my collection. One second. I'm looking for a Windows game. I think I have one. Yes, I think that's it. Right, we'll try loading that one up. And so disk, change disk A. Hello Blake, how's it going? And where is it? There we go. Right, so we have that. Now, where was File Explorer on this? Applications? I'm trying to remember how you actually navigated files. File Manager, there it is. It's right there. File Manager, yeah, sorry. I was being dull. See if it loads up this disk. There we go. See if anyone remembers this classic. Indiana Jones and the Desktop Adventure. Just wait for that to install. Thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate it. Something else I need to install as well, which would be the Soundblaster drivers. Let's grab that over. Thank you for the Royal Rose. And again, we're just copying here from a floppy disk, so it shows how long it takes. While that's going on, I'm actually trying to multitask. It's not letting me. Okay, we'll just have to wait for that to finish. It appears to be in the wrong language. I think this is still running. It hasn't like frozen or anything. I'll give it 3 minutes. Ah, it is still working. Good. I was famous for sitting there staring at my computer going, have you frozen or are you still working? The hard drive light seems to be flickering every so often. I have to admit, once you take away the sound of the floppy drive and it seems to be in the wrong language, but that's fine. Right, I was going to also try and get the sound drivers running. So there we go, Soundblaster 2.0. Oh wow, I didn't realise it was this big. Now, did I have to install this from DOS? There we go. Yes, I did have to run this through DOS. Yeah, the HDD light is a big thing of troubleshooting an old PC. We're now going through a legacy Soundblaster 2.0 installation. Let's do a full installation. That's fine. The settings are correct. And we're copying files. I love the way it's copying the install.exe file. Which Trident graphics did I use? I think it was this one. Yeah, that looks about right. I think I found the graphics drivers. Let's insert disk tool. And before anyone asks, there's 4 of them. I loved Age of Empires setup back in the day, where they built the house as a progress bar. Yes. And being posh with Windows 3.1, messing around with config files to get more EMS. Yep, indeed. I vaguely remember getting reminded of when my dad would scream, "You better not break it!" uh. Yeah, Age of Empires was a Windows 95 game, so we won't be running that on Windows 3.1. I needed more space for my game, so I removed some files from the system folder. Yep. What do I sacrifice to install this? Did it just... Okay. Why am I back in Windows now? I turned my back for 1 minute. I'm actually going to drop back to DOS for this. It looks like something went wrong to me. Right. Let's put the first disk back in there. Disk change A. Let's try that again. A colon. Retry. Why is that not working? Disk change A. Disk 1. Huh. Did that disk just corrupt? Let's try disk 2 to see if that works. Okay, so that's working. Interesting. Let's try that disk again. Wow. So apparently running the setup has managed to corrupt an image file. I better re-extract that one. Right, PZip. That's the one I wanted. And okay, where's that file gone now? There we go. Yes, replace all the files. I think Doom, Monkey Island, and TIE Fighter. Yep, those are the games I played as well. And let's try that image again. Huh. There we go. So it's not right. Let's try rebooting the machine. Let's do a hard reset. Duke Nukem, yep. Shadow Warrior was another game I used to play. Okay, I need to take that floppy disk out, sorry. Eject. Then load. Okay. Yeah, I thought I just rejected you. Let's try that again. Disk, eject A. That's a relief. I thought I corrupted my hard drive then. Indian Jones. The correct term is Native American, sir. Not if he's actually talking about Indians. There you go. Okay, that was really weird. Apparently the image file was fine, but Windows was doing something weird in the background, so whatever. We'll just run the installation again. So we are now going to experience the joys and wonder of Soundblaster 2.0. Yep, I remember the Indiana Jones point and click games. Continue. Full installation. Yes. 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 Okay, now we're back to copying files as we should be. You loved your Soundblaster 32 AWE. It was awesome. I remember playing with wavetables a lot because we went from that beep, beep, beep MIDI files to stuff that actually sounded like instruments. And you had the ability to play 32 instruments all at the same time. So I think I had the AWE 32. And I went up to the 128-bit PCI after that. And that was probably my last ever sound card, because after that they started being added to motherboards instead. Sound fonts. Yeah, I've forgotten the term sound fonts, I have to admit. Yeah, you can actually load up different sound fonts. You get some really interesting sounds out of it, actually, to be honest. Way back when, for PCs, for work, a guy came with a Soundblaster card to install a nice one. Oh, I think we all did Soundblaster. I mean, I know there was AB and Graver's Board and others and stuff, but Soundblaster was definitely the dominant one. I think mostly because it was compatible with everything. Because you had a lot of Soundblaster compatible cards as well. They sort of came along and set the standard, really. I think Soundblaster still make cards, don't they? Or at least decks. Yeah, Soundblaster, Audigi Effect. Oh, that's a terrible name. That's terrible. 5.1 PCIe sound card. UKcreative.com. Wow, they actually still make sound cards. I would have thought they would have gone out of business a long time ago. You still have your ISA Soundblaster card. That's going back. I think Soundblaster 2.0. Yeah, no, Soundblaster 2.0, AWE. I think they had a PCI version, but it also had an ISA version. And it was the 128 PCI that came in with the exclusively PCI, I think. But I think for a long time they did kind of both. They sort of did a Soundblaster PCI and they did a Soundblaster ISA version. I don't think they made EISA. I think that was like graphics cards and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Oh, ISA cards. With the joystick port. Yeah, it was kind of weird, wasn't it? That the joystick was built into the sound card. I suppose we used COM ports before that. I suppose you actually had a separate card for joystick port. Did they invent the joystick port? Was that a Sound Blaster thing? I'm seeing a joystick port converter. Game port, that's right. Just called the game port. Game port was a device found on IBM PC. It was traditional for keyboard for joystick import. Okay. That mean we had to have a sound card to actually use a joystick. It might have done. I've just forgotten about it. Didn't Tandy use like a port that looked like a PS2 port? I don't know. I never really used the Tandys. That was just like one generation before the stuff I was using. Radio Shack's heyday in Leisure Suit Larry. Oh, we love that game. It's so inappropriate. Hey, Thomas, how's it going? Sure you can have a Soundblaster and a Roland sound card, but it was a long time ago. I've forgotten about the Roland sound cards. I don't know if we had one or not, but I remember Roland for some reason. One of my mates may have had one. Was Roland one of those Soundblaster compatibles? In which case we may have had one. And not a genuine card. Oh, I know why I saw Roland. It's because it was in a lot of game options. No, I never owned one. Father styled with a Roland for a long time. Yep, those settings look right to me. Gonna have to run another memmaker because I'm now loading the system down with even more drivers. Analyzing the file autoexec.bat. Line added. Set to sound equals C:/B. Line added. I love the ways it's making this very dramatic process of just adding lines of text to a config file and making sure you know that it's so smart it knows exactly what it's setting. Analyzing the config.sys file. Oh, we have now 40 files. Yep. ctmmsys.sys. I'm definitely have to run memmaker after this. They should make Gen Zs do this in school so they can appreciate what they have now. You're evil, but I agree. Copying in progress. 1 moment, please. I mean, yeah, I've been doing this live now, going from installing DOS to Windows 3.1, and now I'm just installing the drivers. It's taken me 2 hours and 25 minutes so far. Though I have done things like double space. Replace. Just proceed, it's fine. Proceed. So now it's copying drivers to my Windows directory. There's some horror for you. I never actually had a Spectrum, but my next door neighbour did. When he had a Spectrum, I was on the Atari 400. No, when he had a Spectrum, I was on the BBC Master. I am indeed doing this from floppy disks. And now you can create a VM in minutes. I can, but what's the fun in that? It's basically the whole point of these lives is to show what it was like back then. So just so you know, silly dad, I am running this on. It's an emulated machine. It's using PCem, but it's emulating a 386 with authentic speeds. It's using 12 megabytes of RAM and a 127 megabyte hard drive. So we're talking advanced stuff here. But we're basically running at 386 SX25 speeds. And it does, to be honest, it does go to show how much power we waste these days just on nice graphical interfaces and stuff. Because this is a 25 megahertz computer, and it's usable. Now, I'm not going to say the software is brilliant, but it works. Which, yeah. Just going to do a quick hard reset. Yeah, you definitely know you're old when you remember all this. This was my gaming. Oh, I have once again forgotten to remove the floppy drive. I keep saying floppy drive, floppy disk, floppy disk, floppy disk, floppy disk. I reckon if I went up to a woman on the street these days and said floppy disk, I'd probably be done. I read that as Soundblaster Z then, and I realised it's just terrible font. Right, so this is now used a bunch more memory, so we're going to type in mem. Oh, actually, that hasn't used as much as I thought it would, but I'm going to run memmaker anyway. And we'll see how much base memory we can squeeze back. Amazing how to save button is a modern software. Sorry, amazing how the save button in modern software is a floppy disk. You know you're old when you start finding daily use items in museums on display. Oh, what was it that I saw in the Scottish Museum? And I literally looked at the thing and went, that's far too modern. I think it was the Wii. I was shocked when I realised the Wii is a retro console. And in fact, the Xbox 360 is now a retro console. The Xbox 360 still feels like advanced gaming technology to me. The thing is, as old as I am, I didn't get to see this from the start either, because my father would be sitting there talking about the Dragon 64, and I have another mate in the US. He's 62 years old. He remembers using the Owlstar computers, which were the ones with the 4-bit computers with all the switches on the front. So I definitely wasn't there from the beginning. I kind of came in at the point where computers were becoming mainstream and becoming useful rather than being these sort of CPM machines where you had to be a real expert to know what you were doing. So this in many ways was the point where the modern PC was starting to emerge, and it was becoming user-friendly to someone who didn't necessarily have to know a lot about the specific hardware you're using. I had 150 copied games on an old HP disk copier. Oh, I meant you live, LOL. This is awesome, but you're right, yeah. Oh, actually, if you want to see this live from the start, I am recording it, and once the live is over, I am uploading it to my YouTube channel. So if you head over to youtube.com @CKenthusiast, you will actually find my lives going up there as well. So you can actually watch it from the beginning, but obviously not until after I finished the live and uploaded the video. I'm assuming everything was working properly. I wasn't really paying attention. Exit. Yep. So mem. Yeah. So I got myself back up to 605k of base memory. I got my wife to switch, and there was lots of emulators from the NES to N64. I found the special cable it came with. Parallel port SCSI converter. Oh, I used to sit there idolizing after SCSI. It was like this super advanced high performance disk system. While I was stuck on this measly IDE, 5200 RPM device, sitting there going, ooh, SCSI with its 12,000 RPMs. Oh. Right, let's see if I can get those display drivers installed now. Did I extract that? No, not yet. That's fine. And the adapter cards, yep, Adaptec. Oh yes, it was in my. Oh, is it still downloading? Right. There we go. What do we have here? PCI VBL drivers, Windows 3.1 Trident. So is that file now downloaded? Right, that's 95. Yes, it's definitely 3.1 I need. So if I copy that, I'm hoping it's downloaded properly. In which case, paste that there. And we'll see if I can gain access. And those noises from SCSI just spinning up was amazing, I agree. And the fact that anyone who came anywhere near them with a speaker or magnet of any kind was instantly a dead man. I've actually already used double space. Only this is DOS 6.22, so this is drive space because they had to rename it because Microsoft didn't do their due diligence and realised there's already a program called double space out there. Alright, let's see if A works. Ah, darn it. I don't think this file's downloaded properly. Let's do a force recheck. Yeah, this one's coming off an old BitTorrent, and the torrent isn't downloaded properly, so that driver has not come. I need to find it from something else. But I do have a couple of other interesting discs I found. So let's load that up. This actually came with the Soundblaster. So these are a couple of games that came with Soundblaster. We'll see if anyone remembers these. Anyone remember Indy 500? Is there no actually install here? Do I actually have to copy it over? I do, don't I? Right, so mkdir Indy 500. Indy Y. Yep, he remembers Indy 500. I played a lot of Indy 500. Gaming Wizard also remembers Indy 500. I'm going to get a good night's sleep tonight, and it's... sorry, I was going to get a good night's sleep tonight, and it's already 11:30, and I'm watching Windows installing. See, I'm both lucky and unlucky because my job came to an end last week, which means I'm not actually earning any money right now, but it also means I don't have to wake up for work tomorrow. India. There we go. Oh, I played this game a lot. But it was playing through PC speaker. Oh, the project came to an end, that's all. How long did it take this winning car to travel 500 miles? I assume, now this was what they used to do. They used to give you a manual, and if you didn't have the manual, you couldn't answer the question to play the game. Yeah. So I can't play the game because I don't have the manual for it. So is the manual here? Nope. Okay. Well, that's an embuggerance. Let's try one more time. There's no TXT there. Who drove this car to victory? I know, call him Bert. I have no idea about history. Harry Potter. No, that's not going to work. Yeah, okay. Well, if nothing else, you got to see Indy 500's advanced copy protection. No manual, no play game. Yeah, Harry Potter is definitely not going to work. That's definitely... right, what was the other disc? There was another one that hopefully this will work. And you won't have a stupid copy protection. But I know people remember this one. Lemmings! It's already installed here. Right, please choose the type of video mode. EGA Tandy 16 color, CGA, right, we'll go with VGA. Which drive contains Lemmings Disk 1A? Where do you want to install? C:/lem, because I'm lazy. Yes. Yep, EGA. Now, if you really remember EGA, you'll remember this game. EGA Trek. Hey, Quakers, how's it going? Quackers, sorry. However you pronounce it. Yep. Remembers it on the Amiga. See, I was an Atari ST man, and Lemmings was on that as well. Lemmings was everywhere. There wasn't a computer safe from Lemmings. I think it was one of those programs that spontaneously grew on your hard drive. No one knows how it got installed. It just ended up there. Right. Shall we go for high performance PCs, bearing in mind this is a 386? Lemmings loading, please wait. Soundblaster's installed. Right, Lemming disk not found. Please insert A and retry. So Lemmings isn't working. Let's try that again. So we're on 4 VGA. VGA version is loading. We'll go for a high performance PC because this is a massive 386. Not sure why I had to run this from the floppy disk. Oh, still not working. Okay. This is disk 1. Ah, it's obviously broken. Well, I don't think much of this bundled install with the Soundblaster. They don't seem to be working very well. We almost got to see some doodads. I've been trying to catch up on your tricorder videos. Any chance of a live stream of you going? Not yet. I still need to work on the tricorder. I've still got some soldering to do. Okay, so the Soundblaster 2 demos have been rather disappointing so far. Is there anything else they've offered that they can disappoint us with? Let's have a look. And well, so they got text to speech. Yeah. Let's see if sound cards are now working with Windows at least. I'm running win/n because my network drivers are actually preventing Windows from loading. So the /n switch is preventing, the network drivers from stopping it working. As you probably could have guessed. Ooh, we have sound. This program will create Soundblaster 2.0 group. That's not annoying at all. Has the card frozen? Will you stop making sounds at me? Alright, let's exit Windows. Bye-bye, Windows. Bye-bye, Windows. Windows does not want... Windows is frozen. Now I'm getting the full, true Windows experience. Windows is indeed not saying goodbye back. Windows has indeed frozen. We have dared to put on some drivers. And if there is one thing you can do to mess up Windows, it's install drivers. Yep, Trident VGA. I'm trying to download the graphics driver for it, but it's literally, very annoyingly, stopped with about 20 kilobytes left. And it's just not finishing. So I need to find another one now. Oh, you know what? It's so annoying that I have to eject the disk every time I reboot. My goal, memory lane and to have some fun. I'm really just doing live what I would have done on my old 386. Stick in floppy drives, discover software that doesn't work, discover ways in which drivers won't work, crash Windows, and making us all feel old, yes. Windows tried to make this all easier. It took till Windows 98 to kind of fix this, I agree. Now, are we going to get another repeat of the annoying... Yep. Okay. Don't think these drivers work well with Windows. Will it let me load anything? Oh. At least I've managed to change the sound. Oh. Okay. This did not go well. I wonder if there's some updated Soundblaster 2 drivers I can get. It just keeps moving between sounds. Oh, jeez. Okay. That's enough of that. Right. Sound maybe a smarter solution, but using some sort of VM to do. I am using PCem, so this is very much an emulated BIOS. Oh, this is where I'm going to have to reinstall Windows, isn't it? Hard reset. There we go. I've buggered Windows. Yep. Okay. Let's see if I can find some other drivers. Maybe installing some new drivers will make it slightly worse. Who knows? Okay, so there are some newer ones here. No, that's one I downloaded, I'm sure. So we got some drivers on a 5.5-inch drive. And we got some on the bundle. Yeah, the bundle's the one I downloaded. So that looks like the newest one. Emulated. You don't have an old system lying right? No, unfortunately. If I had the money, I would absolutely go and buy a system. But right now I'm using PCem version 17. It's easier to stream. I'm going to be up for 6 hours, so stay good night. It's been a great trip down memory lane. Thanks, mate. And again, if you want to watch it from the beginning, watch it later, hit up my YouTube channel when you got more time. This entire thing will be uploaded there. So thanks for popping by. I'm trying to think now. What I could actually do is try changing the audio card. So one question I do have is, were there uninstall? I doubt there was. I think that's probably being optimistic. Reinstalling Windows 3.1 is probably the better bet. Actually, could you actually reinstall it directly from Windows? I thought you could. This will be quicker if I can do it this way. Right, VGA, yeah. That's fine. Oh no, that's just a setup program. Okay. So I need to reinstall it. And it's not going to let me do that. Try changing the IRQ. I suppose I could try doing that. Where would that driver be? Would it be setup.ini? Setup.ini. Nope. Where were the drivers installed? I can't remember. Just can't scroll up. Your inner child is panicking. Yeah, I don't think Windows 3.1 had a repair as such. I could do with reinstalling it anyway, simply because the network driver issue. But that may be another live. The other thing I could do, it may be taking its cue from the setup. So let's try. First of all, a little bit of research. PCem v17 Soundblaster 2.0 settings. Actually, what I could do is shut this down and swap it out for Soundblaster 16. I think that's a bit more stable. So I'm going to shut this down briefly and go update the configuration. I'll remove all the drivers. So PCem There it is. Got it. We'll just edit that configuration. Just type in rm/r. That is unfortunately a Linux command, so it wouldn't even work on Windows. Yeah, you have to use the del tree command. Right, so I'm just going to change my Soundblaster card to 16. I suspect that will be a bit more stable. I'm now running it again. And I will need to update my, what's we call it? My Live Studio. And come on, there we go. Dare you connect to the internet? I tried, but the network drivers are crashing Windows 11. Sorry, according to Windows 11, Windows 3.11. I mean, technically it's Windows 11 if you think about it. There we go. I'll go in and I'll manually remove these drivers. So edit config.sys. And we'll get rid of this one. Get rid of that one. And I think that's all I need to get rid of for Soundblaster. File, save, file, exit, then edit autoexec.bat. And we get rid of these Soundblaster, that one. That's fine. File, save. File, exit. Now I need to go get the drivers for Soundblaster 16, which I know I've seen. Soundblaster 16 drivers. There they are. Yeah, there they are. So we'll download that one. Most men at the club, us learning how to support an OS we'll never have to support. We're keepers. Oh, thanks for popping by, Silly Dad. Again, my entire broadcast will be going up on TikTok. Not TikTok. On YouTube. So same channel as I can name as I got here, at CK Enthusiast. And you can see the entire thing if you want. I do a bunch of these. So thanks for popping by. And I hope to see you again. So I'm just going to extract these discs. It'll probably turn out I've already got it in my folder. What do you reckon? Nerd husbands, indeed. You know we're not cheating on them because we're too busy cheating on them with computers. Okay. Select folder and okay. There we go. Right, so I'll get that disk loaded now. To think, when this came out, I was only 2 years old. When this came out, I was in my teens. There we go, disc 1. Welcome, I'm officially no longer the baby of the chat. Soundblaster 16 software installation. This program will install all necessary files to SP16. I'm not going to read the manuals because no man ever does. We're going to begin installation and enter. Yes, we'll do local drive. Soundblaster 16 software will be installed. A to continue. This is Soundblaster 16 installation software in DOS. Glorious DOS. Hopefully we'll have a Windows 3.11 installation as well. My wife is taking a nap. I took off my headphones, waiting for the "what the fuck are you watching?" There's something soothing about the speed of a floppy disk transfer. There's no phone calls. There's no people demanding deadlines. There's no piles of emails. There's just you and two different progress bars. It is sad that I could watch this all night. Not at all. I could probably do the same thing as well. Don't forget to delete the SB folder to save space. Now, I'll keep the SB folder. And I'll delete something from system. I'm pretty sure I don't need those. I'll just go into Windows system folder and I'll do a del star.star. That'll solve all my Windows problems because I won't be able to load it anymore. And my chat, I appreciate that. You're installing everything from my child. I'm installing everything from my childhood. That we just grew up roughly the same time with the same technology. Just need to add a soundtrack. And so, yeah, no, I again, if TikTok paid any decent amount of money, and I do have 50,000 subscribers, if this was YouTube, I'll be making enough money to go off and buy vintage hardware and actually do nostalgia stuff. But the reality is, if I get 20 quid a month out of TikTok, I'm doing well. This is why I'm trying to build up my YouTube channel, actually. But yes, I would love to get vintage 386, 486, and again, if I can get my hands on a Cyrix processor, which was a Cyrix machine with a Power VR graphics card and a Soundblaster 32 AWE, I will be perfectly happy. Set up a GoFundMe page to buy a vintage kit. You may come to that. Or you could always buy one of my amazing books. Go onto Amazon, look for DC Foreman, and you'll find 8 books I've published up there. That's how I make my money right now. Perhaps I should do a vintage book. Vintage computing book. All the stuff you never knew and will probably never need to know. Disc 2. If anyone's got any kids, young kids, I do a series of kids books as well. So learn the internet, learn science and innovation. I'm working on another one as well. I tried getting a podcast going, but no one ever came and listened to it. So, but for this nostalgia stuff, they probably would actually. Get some guests from my era. just start talking about old PCs and our memories. Thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. That's probably the best way anyone can help me right now, is watch those videos and subscribe over there. Start trying to make some proper money. Just watching the files go past. Voc 00, vplay. All these programs. Excuse me. But yeah, I'd love to do a live video where I just have old parts bought off eBay and I'll just assemble a 386 machine, a 486 machine, maybe one of the early Pentiums. I don't think I could get away with more than having more than 4 machines though, because my wife would start having words with me. What are you doing with all these old computers? I'm glad you subscribed, thanks. Glass.wave. Interesting. Yeah, I think once I've established that this fails, which it probably will, I suspect I will need to reinstall Windows 3.1 because that's just how this goes. And it's 1 AM right now and I'm still watching. Well, you won't be watching for too much longer, I suspect, because I'm starting to yawn. It's midnight here. So I'm just grateful you're allowed to have one. Just be grateful you're allowed to have one, yeah. Now, to be fair, I got quite a bit of computer equipment over there. I suspect if I added a couple more boxes, my wife wouldn't actually know the difference. I've definitely got a big enough workspace over there. Though the danger is, because my job has just ended, a lot of that equipment's going to be packed away. So she might start digging into what I actually own. Your first PC was a Pentium 2 processor, which was a cartridge. I don't think it would be a cartridge. Compact, maybe. Oh, you mean the card processors? Yes, sorry. The long ones you used to slot in. I think I still have a Pentium 166 in my basement. Nice. Yes, those settings are correct. Yes, C is the boot. Yes, that's fine. Oh, it's doing the analyzation of the autoexec.bat file again. It's a bit quicker than the last one, actually. Oh, it's found Windows. Win.ini. That's where all the drivers are. I forgot. Installation complete. So there's a conflict. I've got to go into win.ini. And I think it's installed, isn't it? I think that's it. Right. C:\win/n. Let's see if we get these sound driver issues again. Well, Windows is loading. That's a good sign. It's happening again. Program set up Windows 3.1 applications to Soundblaster. Okay, that's fine. Thank you for sending the tiny Dinny. Oh, that's such an annoying noise. Oh wait, I can just do this. That's better. Right, yes, let's restart Windows. Yep, it's frozen again. My first PC had a zip drive. Never had any zip disks though. That sounds about right. The zip disks were actually quite expensive. I'm going to do a hard reset because that's failed. Yeah, I think I need to go into the win.ini file and start taking down some drivers. You still need to remove the other drives from the win. I do, yes. I'd hoped I'd get away with it just going, oh, well, that doesn't exist. We won't load this. But the stuff obviously isn't that smart. Though it was actually playing sound. Though, to be fair, Soundblaster 16 was backwards compatible with Soundblaster 2. So that might be the issue right there. So you're right. I probably need to remove those drivers. But now I know it's win.ini. I can at least go and target it now. That will be interesting, actually. I haven't done Windows 3.1 troubleshooting for a very long time. CD Win, no, CD Windows, you moron, and edit win.ini. Okay, there we go. Right. Okay. Isn't it funny that you can literally set up all your extensions here? So we've got ports. That means I can disable comport 2. I'll ignore that one for now. Alright, there we go, Soundblaster. Oh no, that's sounds. Wave audio square, MCI extensions, compatibility, and okay, so we've got fonts, embedding, sound record. Well, so where's the drivers in this? So those are all the fonts. Source disk path A, that's fine. So that's all compatibility stuff. MCI extensions, wave audio sequencer. I'm not really seeing drivers here. Recorder, notepad. Maybe it's somewhere else. This is indeed MS-DOS. You know what? It will just be quicker to just reinstall Windows, I think. But what I can do to speed up the process of installing Windows is copy the floppy disks over to my drive. So if I make win setup, and I copy the data over, that will probably speed things up a bit. But it may be the next live I start doing that, but I'll do the copying now. And that way I can refresh next time. So if I go over here, and where are my Windows disks? There it is, and there it is, disk 1. So copy a:/*star.star. Let's see if I can copy all those files. I did try system.ini, yeah, but I will actually go double check that quickly because copy these files over. Waiting for these files copy, then I'll go and check system.ini. But I think this will take a while, so I might do the manual copy off stream sometime. XMS Manager. Oh no, that was I must have typed it in wrong earlier. Okay, thanks for pointing that out. Shell program, right, network driver, mouse sound. I'm going to go through all of these before I start disabling things. MCI drivers, MIDI. Right, there's the Soundblaster 16. So those are all normal. Map timer.drive. Should probably disable that and that, because I was having a problem with network drivers. Yeah, I'll just disable all the network drivers. And this is as far as my knowledge goes. Mine too, to be honest. I'm sure I knew about this many, many years ago, but right now it's like, yeah, I don't remember. So it's definitely loading the Soundblaster 16. It may be that the Soundblaster driver recognised that there was a Soundblaster 2 being loaded and updated it. In which case both drivers have the same issue. In which case it could be a BIOS issue. Display driver VGA. Yeah. So it looks like the drivers did update. So maybe it's just a driver, not a driver, a BIOS issue. Or something incompatible with the system. I might need to change the configuration. Which, to be fair, is quite a simple thing to do in an emulator. But yeah, it's definitely not loading Soundblaster 2 drivers. Soundblaster drive there. I suppose they may be some old ones. We'll try disabling them. Let's just try win. See if it works with those disable. Change the SB folder. Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah, that should be starting to load up by now. I'll do a reset. Looks like the /n is still required. Oh, actually, the SB wouldn't work because those are the DOS drivers. It actually is installed files directly to Windows. It went through once because you load drivers from inside the GUI or only from DOS. You can edit the files in the same way, but edit is just the normal way I would go about doing this, to be honest. Oops, Daisy. Let's eject that disk. I'm glad you love that screen. Okay. I made more sense than you said it out loud. I know what you mean. Hang on. Hang on. I may have disabled the right drivers. We're not. We just got a ding. We didn't get anything else. Does this mean I fixed it? Am I pure genius? This program is testing for optimal display. Well, this is fun. It is indeed amazing how far we come. But it's also amazing how much is familiar. I mean, the basic principles of Windows hasn't really changed. The only thing that really got added was the start menu. Just found an ad for a retro PC Windows 95 CR2 and PS2 keyboard and mouse for only €50. Nice. In a way, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. I actually consider it because of these vids. I'm glad you're enjoying them. I tell you what, he's really testing hard for an optimal display, isn't it? Your program is testing for optimal display performance so that it will look the best on your system. This will take a few minutes, but you will only see it again if you change to new display settings. So I'm guessing this is the ye olden version of compiling shaders. It seems to just be going in a loop. NVIDIA, eat your heart out. I think they still have the old program manager in System.32 of Windows 11. Do they? That would be quite impressive if they do. Video 16 colors. It only supports 256. Okay, that's fair enough. So I've got to definitely update my graphics drivers somehow. Trident graphics card driver. Windows 3.11. Let's see what we've got available. Vogons, are you going to save me? Do I remember which one it was? I think it was this one. That's a bin file. That doesn't do me much good, does it? You got an old 56k modem? No, I'm afraid I don't. And I don't even have a telephone line, so even if I did have one, I couldn't make any calls with it. It just occurred to me. I'm trying to test my sounds. I tried running a game, but it wouldn't work. No, it doesn't run bin files. Okay. So yeah, I'm trying to update my graphics drivers so I get full color range. There we go. Is that what I need? I think I'm running the T4400. I racked up a large phone bill once calling old PlusNet pay-as-you-go number to get online. Oh yeah, I got myself in trouble when I was younger because I was on the internet too much. Okay, so that one doesn't come in a nice IMG folder. So that's not very useful. How big are these things? 0.98, okay. So how do I get this on my virtual machine? No, only allows for an IMG. Create blank disk, that's no good. So I need to find a way of making an IMG. IMG maker. IMG floppy maker. WinImage. WinImage is an ASP shareware program. WinImage will make or freeze a created disk image from a removable drive. Power ISO. ISO. Yes, I have that installed already. Yeah, that's fine. Just continue trial version. Tools. Make floppy disk image file. Right, I don't want a source drive. I want to use folders. Source file, there we go. So downloads. What was it called again? Are you strictly a Windows user or still Mac? I use Windows because I don't like the price and performance of Apple hardware, but I have nothing against Mac OS. Okay, so it's only letting me use img files. Okay, that's fine. So can I just drag and drop? No. Add. There we go. So if I go to downloads, right, so I actually need to extract that now, don't I? Excuse me mumbling to myself. I'm trying to prepare an IMG folder so I can get the Trident drivers over. Right, so add. There we go. That's better. Let's grab these files. Add. And then file. Save as. That's an archive bin. Oh, don't tell me you can't do IMG files. Don't tell me this nonsense. Action. Extract, view, tools. Edit surface data. Right, make. Let's try writing. Yeah, why are you asking me for a source file? I don't need a source file. Biff. IMG flip. Yeah, that's pretty useless. Windows for work here, Linux and Apple ecosystem for play and automation. See, I can't justify Apple for play because they don't support anything in terms of games. And trouble is, when it comes to legacy software and compatibility and the sheer amount of software, you just can't beat Windows. That's the long and short of it. Yeah, this software isn't working. There must be a way of making an IMG. Everyone else seems to be able to do it, so. Players and music producers. Again, there's so many doors and things for PC that there really is no advantage to having Mac for it. I know people believe there are, but I've never seen any real evidence of it. Floppy creator. There we go. Create floppy disk images. Now, will you actually let me put files into it? Or is it just a case of you have to have the floppy disk? Let's try this software. Let's have a look. File. Right, that's loaded disk image. Disk to file. File to disk. Okay. Oh no. File to disk is no good. Again, it's just not a program that does what I want it to. Pack, unpack image, source file, target file. Yeah, that's no good. Yep, that software sucks. If I had proper networking, I could just send it over that way. But does this have any means of disable PPG packaging, change disk A? It only does IMG files, doesn't it? FDI file. Nope. Convert zip into IMG. Okay, so they reckon they'll do it. Zip to SD main command page. Easy zip to image online. Okay, I'll try an online version. Right, let's select the zip file to convert. There it is. This archive contains other files too. You can open them with the all-purpose extractor. But yeah, of course it does. You told me you could convert zip to image. You lied to me. You've lied to me. Okay, yeah, it's just taking literally image files. Okay, ignore that one. Right, okay, that's the end of that one. That's as far as I can get. Yes, this is Windows 3.1. I'm trying to install display drivers to it, but there's no way of easily making an IMG file right now, which is what this emulator is using. So I'm going to call it a night, I think. This will require some more research. I have the ability to make a blank disk, so what I need to do is work out how to edit one. Suppose I could burn it to a CD-ROM. That would probably work, actually. But I'd have to load a CD-ROM driver. So that is a rabbit hole I'm not going to go down right now. Another stupid question, but can Linux running autoexec programs run designed for Windows? No, because Linux uses its own libraries and other stuff. Now, you can compile a Linux program over to Windows using Qt and stuff like that, but you have to know what you're doing. It also depends on what language you've been using to make your program. But basically, you've got to take it back to source code, and you have to use the tool chain for the operating system to get a program ported over. And that's it. So yeah, I think I'm going to call it an end there. I've been broadcasting for 3.5 hours. I've obviously run into a limit of what I can do right now. But once I get display drivers and stuff sorted, I'll be back. We'll try some more Windows 3.1 programs. And we'll just explore this operating system a bit more. So I'm glad you enjoyed yourselves. Yes, Proton Qt is what we're talking about. But that's really for games and stuff. Applications are a bit different. Yeah, so that's about it, really. It's been a brilliant stream, and thanks to you guys for showing up and sticking with me for this long. I will be putting this video up on YouTube, so if you want to see it from the beginning to the end, then you can just head over to youtube.com/ckenthusiast, and this video should be up in about half an hour or an hour or so. So I better go and start encoding and uploading. So again, thank you guys. I'm sure I'll be able to run a stream next weekend, and I hope to see you guys then. So thanks again, and have a great night, guys.